Welcome back to Tales of First Ladies. I'm Eleanor Burns. This is the 7th program of the series. We're stitching our way through this lovely quilt, making blocks named after our charming First Ladies. Joan Lisney made this beautiful quilt. Her center is very unique. I love the 4 blocks around this single eagle, and then she appliqued flowers in each one of the side triangles. Perfect. Well, I selected this particular quilt in chocolate, pinks, and greens, especially for our youngest First Lady, the striking Frances Cleveland. Her charming manner, youth, and beauty won favor with the nation. Well, the lush roses in the border are just perfect for her. This is Frances's block right here, named Mrs. Cleveland's Choice by Ladies Art Company in 1895. Well, perhaps this is Frances right in the center, framed with attention from the American people. You know, Frances was only 21 when she married Grover Cleveland, who was 28 years her senior. And what a tale that gave everyone to talk about. Grover was Frances's father's law partner and friend, and had known her from the time of her birth in New York. In fact, Grover even gave her parents her baby carriage. Frances's father died when she was 11, and Uncle Cleve helped her mother raise her. Well, once Frances went off to college, Bachelor Grover realized he was in love with her. Well, to most Americans, their relationship was a complete surprise. The observers thought he'd been courting her mother. The two managed to keep their engagement a secret and their wedding private. They were the first to be married in the White House. Grover worked as usual on his wedding day. Well, the country was just smitten with Frankie, hanging photographs of her in their homes, while women imitated her hairstyle, the knot. She was a beautiful and gracious woman. Businessmen used her picture on their products to increase sales. Well, Frankie, as she was nicknamed, was a frequent cover girl on popular publications. Well, her block is as beautiful as her. It's time to get down to business and get her blocks done. This is the block that we're making, and we're starting right in the center with a square on square, and then frame it with some P-squares, another frame, and more squares. Oh, it's a lot of fun to do. Keep up with me. Right here is the very center of the block, and this piece is a 1 7/8 inch piece. Just a little guy we're going to put in there, and this is a stack of 4 squares. They are 2 1/4 inches. Oh, I can't even expect you to remember all these measurements. I have a difficult time myself. Now, we're going to frame these. We're just going to take and put 2 triangles on each side. And the best way to do this is to just flip the square to the left on the triangle, because then the triangle will be on the bias on the bottom. You don't want that to stretch out right in the beginning. That would be some time. Use a regular 1/4 inch seam and just sew the first triangle on one side, cut your threads, and then flip it over and take this triangle, put it on the bottom as well. Center it very oversized. I like it to be oversized. Then you have lots to square up. Much better to be oversized than not have enough in the end. All right, now once these 2 are done, we have to press them out so that we can use that measurement. Okay, give them a shot of steam. Open, press this way. Lots of tips hanging out. This is a good tip. Cut the tips off. So just take your ruler, line up a straight line. I always like to keep everything straight. Just cut off this side, turn it around, and the other side. And we've got the center going. Take these, get rid of them. And then the last two triangles go right here, flipped right sides together, and then flip them over and sew with the triangle on the bottom again. You know, even though Grover was an older man, he was still very attentive. He ordered 5 wagons of flowers to be delivered at the White House, and then he had them placed all throughout the White House. I can imagine that it smelled really good. But then, when they finally took their honeymoon in Maryland, that is where Grover learned the price he'd have to pay for taking such an attractive wife. Oh my goodness. She was the White House first media star. Can't you imagine? Think about what we do with our media stars. You know, the reporters just started swarming around the area, and they were like peeping Toms. And they actually stopped the staff, asked them what they were doing in the honeymoon cottage, what were they eating, what were they drinking, and then they had to report it. Really, the beginning of paparazzi. Isn't that true? So now, one more. Just take this, set this seam, open, press, and we've got our little square surrounded by our triangles. Now this is extra large, so we're going to square it up with our fussy cut ruler. I love my fussy cut rulers. It's even fun to say fussy cut. This is squared down to 2.5 inches. It's just a little 2.5 inch square. It has an X in the middle, 1/4 inch seams on all sides. So just put the little tick marks on those seams. Perfect. Right here, I have a little tick mark going right into there. Okay, hold it down, trim on one side and the second side, and then very carefully swing your mat around. I always tend to go too fast. I'm always in a hurry. And then I just take it right off. There it is. The very center, that's gone. And now all we're going to do is add pieces to the sides. We've got, they are cut to size. They're 2.5 inches. So they are going to frame it, one on each side. Just flip them right sides together. Still sew with the triangles on the bottom. But you know that Frankie was naive to the limelight. She was so naive, so young. But she endured with a wonderful smile and a sense of humor. That's really smart to do, isn't it? And she grew into this confident young woman. She seemed older than her years. It's a good thing that she acted so mature. Okay, I've done one side. I'm going to just turn it around and sew this on the second side. We're doing good. We are hot today, huh? Okay, one more side. Well, Frankie was just so beautiful that all of the advertisers used her face and her name to promote their products. Oh my goodness, they had it on perfume, they had it on liver pills, put it on ashtrays, buttons, banners, and even quilts. She was America's goddess. Look at that. Perfect. Now all I have to do is just sew these 2 extra pieces on the sides. Let me move this out of the way. I've pressed the seam away, and let's see how my seam's going. Oh, cool. Maybe I'll have a little to trim extra, huh? So let's just flip this right sides together and sew both of these down and get it all arranged. She was so kind to the American women. On Saturday, she actually scheduled this event on Saturday, and she would have thousands of people jam into the White House for her Saturday reception. And she would stand, she would shake hands, and just greet everybody. Can you imagine? Not only did she do that on Saturday, but she had a Thursday luncheon where she served lunch to everyone in Congress. Can you imagine that? serve lunch in Congress. And her husband actually got a little worried about her safety because they were sometimes like charging her. They wanted to talk with her and touch her. And so it was hard on her husband that he didn't want her to do that. And she would personally answer letters. Okay, let's set the seams and flip that out and out. And we've got it done. That's the very center. This should be 4.5 inches. I'm getting out my fussy cut ruler again and squaring it up. Let's take a look. Just put the fussy cut right on there. Line up the X and hold it down. I've got a 1/4 inch seam, not much room. 2 sides. Carefully swing it around. And the last 2. So we've got the center. We're moving on. I'm going to show you a new technique now, and I don't think I've ever showed it to you before. We're going to do this part of the block to surround that very center square. So it looks like I'm going to cut a lot of triangles, but I'm not. I'm going to use strips. I have already made my piece squares. I squared these little guys up to 2 inches. That is small, huh? And then I have some rectangles beside it that are just 2 by 3. For each block, I have 4 of those. So I'm just going to take the rectangle. If I can even get hold of it, just slide back to my machine, flip it right sides together, and hold on to that patch because this is the time. It is so easy. The machine just loves to eat my patches. Good. We're through. We're on. Okay, so now just take and flip this rectangle onto each one of the piece squares. And now I'm going to tell you a funny story. It's called the corset story. So one summer, there were 2 reporters. They were just so bored. There was nothing to report on Frankie. So they said, we're going to make up a story. So they came up with the idea they would write this big story about how Frankie decided to stop wearing a corset. Well, you know the corsets were just a big thing then. I think I twisted this. I better make sure. Nope, I'm still on track. No more corsets for Frankie. This would change the whole fashion industry. So now I'm just going to take this. You hold on to that thought. Frankie and her corset. Okay, now I'm just going to set my seams with the rectangle on top, open and press toward the rectangle. And just get this done. Oh, I've got a great 1/4 inch seam in between there. Good. Let me turn off that steam before I sit down. So now we're just going to clip these apart right on those connecting threads. And we're going to make 2 sets that look like this. We're going to turn this up like this. Okay, you're going to start to see how we're doing this new patch. 2 sets, just like that. So, when the American women read that Frankie was no longer going to wear a corset, they all did it. Corsets went away so fast. I have a feeling that maybe the whole country was just saying, we're sick of these corsets. We want to get rid of them. And President's wife is not wearing them. We're done too. So, gone. And Frankie said, that wasn't my story, but you know what? Sounds like a good idea. So Frankie stopped wearing a corset too. It's pretty amazing how those reporters can just start any kind of a rumor and get people going with it. Okay, I'm nearly done. Let me just zip across this and I'll take a look. It's sort of like our flying geese. We're making 2 at a time on each one of these. So let's take a look. Ta-da! Okay, that looks good. But now what we want to do is cut it right like that. So I can press. I'm going to take it, fold it in half, and right here in this fold, clip to the stitches. This is going to seem familiar to you, just like the flying geese. Just hold it, clip to the stitches. I'm going to cut my red threads. I've used that red thread just for you. You can see so much better if I don't use that contrasting thread. Okay, now let's open this patch up. Let's go in one direction on one half, and on the second direction, the opposite way. Take a look at the back. Looks just like the flying geese. Seams going in opposite directions. Okay, let me cut this one very quickly too. Press this one in on one side, turn it around, in on the other, check the back, it's flat. So now we're going to just take our 6.5 inch triangle square up ruler and cut it in half. Take your ruler and line up. I actually have my glow line on here. I think I'll just take that off so you can see it better. I was squaring up patches. Okay. I want to have a 1/4 inch line right on my seam, right here. This is what I need. 1/4 inch line, I have a nice triangle. And down here, you also want to have your diagonal line, your 1/4 inch seam going right into the corner. Very critical. And cut it in half, that's 1/2. Take the second patch, turn it around, 1/4 inch line right on that seam. 2 places, one here, down at this corner. There's a little strip right in between. This is excess. You can get that gone. And then you see, this is how this is going to go right around that center square. Okay, let me cut this piece too. And now I have a really good story to tell you about visiting Dwight Eisenhower. Well, everybody knows how well known he became in World War II with his activity with the Germans. Okay, one more cut. So everybody knew his name, but unfortunately, Frankie had been out of the White House. She'd grown older. People had forgotten her. Okay, take this and get rid of that. Okay, now this is going to go on those sides. Pretty good, huh? So now it's just like the square in a square. I take these 2 sides and flip them right sides together and sew them on there. All right, let me do that. Let me just center that on there and sew that across. So Frankie was going to go and visit Dwight. She was in the White House, and he was shaking hands, welcoming guests. And he said, "So, tell me, where did you live in Washington?" And she very coolly, calmly said, "In the White House." He was very embarrassed. I can imagine. You just wouldn't remember a president's wife. Okay, one more side. I'm going to put this right on here. Line that up. It's going really great. I think that you'll do a good job. And I'm going to tell you all the finer points as soon as I get this sewn on. Okay, right across that seam. Take a look. I did show you this on the last program because you have this perfect lineup. See how you're supposed to go right across that V. Make sure it's perky on the other side. It's looking great. Perky on the other side. Let's just press these open. I still have those last 2 to do, but I'm just going to show you how to get that going. All right, now we've got these tips on the sides. We've got to trim them off. They're all lined up. One side, turn it around. Very similar techniques on both the center and this piece. And now this is going to go here on the sides like this, and you should measure it. It should measure 6 1/4 inches. Remember that, 6 1/4 inches, so that the whole thing goes together. And then we're going to add, just like we did before, the side pieces, and then the very last pieces go like this, that big framing border right around the center. And this one should measure 9 1/4 inches. Oh my gosh, you have so much to remember. I'm going to get mine done and show you the very last outside pieces. We only have these outside corners to finish and we are done. So take a look. In each corner, there is one brown. So that means we have to have 4 brown piece squares. And I did those 4 with a 6-inch square. I drew my X, and then I cut it into 8ths. And you actually square these up to 2.5 inches. Those are good. And then you've got the 2 blues, so you go 2, 4, 6, 8 per block. And then I did the same thing with the blues. I made 2 sets because we're making 2 blocks. Well, this block is very similar to what I just showed you when I did the little ones around the center. Lots of triangles around the outside edge, but we're not using triangles. We're doing it with strips. So this is the patch that's already sewn. I just want to show you how it's the same on both corners. We're just going to cut it in half and take a look. They're going to fit right around the outside edge. Isn't that fun? I don't like triangles. This is so much easier. Okay, you have to make 2 of these. You have to do brown, blue, and strip. Make 2 per block, because remember we're going to make 4 out of these, and then you only need 1 of these for the block with the blue on the end, and this one's turning the opposite direction. So to finish it, we're going to do like this, 1 up here, and turn this one around, and you go, ah, I see it, I get it. So now when we flip these right sides together, these seams are going to lock right here, so we can just hold them together, put them down with your stiletto, zip right across there, needle down, and zoom. So it's really fun and very easy to do. I have done birds in the air with this pattern too. It's very easy. Anything that has all of these triangles around them, you can do it. Well, I never did hear if Frances was a stitcher, except I'm starting to think maybe she was. Okay, that's perfect. We've got this piece in the middle. We're going to put this one on the end and finish it. Because during the Depression, she actually was an officer in the Needlework Society of America, and she actually helped gather clothes for poor people during the Depression. I think that's pretty good. At least she was part of the Needlework Guild. All right, got to do that little clipping. This is looking good. It goes like this. So just take and right here at this seam, right where the background is, makes a big seam, take that, fold it, clip right there down to the stitches, turn it around to the other side in this part, down to the stitches, and then just press 1/2 each time, 1/2. Well, I already have these all done. So look at this. All you have to do is just take your 6x12 ruler, put your 1/4 inch line right on here like this, cut it in half, 1 cut, turn it around, and do the same thing on the other sides, and your block will be done. Frankie was such a beautiful young woman when her husband took office. It's easy to understand her quote, "I have not had a life yet. It is all before me." Very true. Well, Sally Murray made this challenging 15-block quilt in memory of Frances Cleveland. Well, she wanted hers to look like an antique quilt by setting her blocks together with solid squares and 2 simple borders. It really does look antique, especially with this border and the binding. Well, there are many firsts with this First Lady. They had 5 children, including their first girl, Baby Ruth. Nestle named the Baby Ruth candy bar after her in 1921. Unfortunately, the young child passed on at 5 years old. Esther Cleveland, their second child, was the only baby born in the White House. When Grover's first term of office as the 22nd president concluded, she told the White House staff to take care of the residents as they would be back. 4 years later, they were back, making her the first to be a non-consecutive First Lady with the 24th president. Francis and Grover led a happy life in Princeton, New Jersey, until his death in 1908. At just 44, Frances was a widow. And she said, "I can wish the women of our country no better blessing than that their homes and their lives be as happy and that their husbands may be as kind and attentive, considerate and affectionate as mine." I think that's really nice. Well, 5 years later, she married a professor of archaeology, becoming the first presidential wife to remarry after her husband's death. Well, Frances Cleveland had a sweet life as First Lady. Enjoy making her blocks.